Hi, today we'll be talking about survivor's guilt, and I want to specify really quickly that there are many versions of survivor's guilt, and I'm not talking about like the extremist, like if there's a situation where multiple people died and you didn't die, and then you have survivor's guilt. I'm referring to like when you're in a shitty situation and you didn't get hurt, but the people you care about did, and you couldn't like help them or prevent it. But I don't want to ever take away from the severity of the other version of survivor's guilt, so I want to clarify that that's not what I'm referring to. So I've had survivor's guilt pretty much my entire fucking life. Um, Probably when I was about 5 or 6 is when it started. I had my foot surgery, and everyone around me was trying to be there for me and console me. Condone? The fuck? Console! When they would start trying to be there for me, and I knew that it's not fake, but I knew it wasn't genuinely how they were feeling, made just this immense amount of guilt because I couldn't help them, and I knew that they were stressed and sad because of me, because of my health, because of the situation we were in. It absolutely destroyed me, and I tried my best to comfort them, and then they tried to comfort me, and it just went into a fucking circle. But definitely like 8 or 9 is when I really started getting like conscious of like money, because I was poor as fuck. My first operation at 10 days old made my family go bankrupt. I felt like a financial burden my entire life. Still gonna do, working on it, but especially then, it was very bad. But I never ever want someone else to say it, because I will happily be a hypocrite, because I don't want anyone ever to think that their financial situations with health is ever a burden, even if it causes other reactions and side effects in life. Fuck that. Never a burden. But I'm going to use it because that's how I felt. No longer agree with that, but that's how I felt. But I felt like a burden, and knowing that like literally to just be born and then cause that much destruction in the fucking household, it's rough. Like it's rough knowing that situation happened. And I mean, it's fucking medical bills. My mom stayed with me every hospital, every stay. And she had to take time off of work, or she just had to not have a fucking job, especially when we lived in the hospital for 2 months. I know that my medical shit is hindering to the house. I give up. Is a hindrance to the household, and how are they going to pay rent? I might not be at the house right now, but I still gotta go back to a house. It's stressful, and I was aware of all this, and nobody like talked to me about it, and at least tried not to. But I knew I wasn't stupid. I knew what the fuck was happening, and immense amount of guilt, fucking immense. And being a sick kid, you are aware that you might not always be around. And that in itself is a huge guilt, because you basically know that everybody that you let close to you, they might have to lose you sooner than other people would typically have to lose somebody. And it's not your fault, but it's something at least I always think about, and I always have guilt. And nobody's lifespan is certain. You can walk outside and get hit by a truck, but can maybe kill over at any second, will definitely make it more scary. There's gonna be times where the people that care about you are gonna have to watch you suffer and go through surgeries, or have episodes of whatever your condition is, and they're not gonna be able to help you, which is gonna hurt them. But vice versa, you can't help them help you. And a lot of people in my life, I think that's the hardest thing for them, is they can't help me, or they feel helpless, and it causes them immense pain and distress and worry. it's just helpless all the way around. And I'm like, my brain goes, if I not suicidal, we're good. But like if I didn't exist, I didn't have these medical issues, if this person wasn't in my life, etc., etc., these people wouldn't have to experience this type of stress and pain. And it just makes you feel so bad. And it also makes it hard to open up to people, because that if you're like, hey, I'm in a lot of pain, or like I'm really struggling with this, it's gonna hurt that person with anything negative. If that person really cares about you, your pain is their pain. They hurt when you hurt. But when you are in constant pain and like need to talk about it, you have sometimes can be like, I don't want to hurt them for my own shit, and you just keep it inside. You don't want to do more damage than caring about you already is. Which is not healthy, and I am doing my best to not do that. I appreciate that people give a fuck about me, and I'm trying to work on it. But communicating is always something that's gonna help. And when I was a kid, I didn't talk. I was almost mute. Like you could not get words out of me. You got a smile, a fucking head nod, and that was it. I did not, especially something like pain or something. So knowing that caring about me comes with a lot of heaviness makes me feel like I'm sentencing somebody to something shitty. Something I gotta work on, and like an inevitable pain that I cause that I can't get rid of. These are very broad, and like psychologically, I'm aware that is what triggered these things and reactions. But I have had like serious interactions with like survivor's guilt, because nobody else died. But on my death, when I did die, waking up and finding out that I died, and then knowing that my family had to think that I was dead, had to face that I was dead, and not know if I was going to come back, and not know if they were going to see me again, or if my lungs were going to come back. And I was just fine. I woke up, I went to bed, had some weird ass experiences in my coma, and woke up. And everyone else suffered. And then I think that's like part of a quote of like, it's not the dead that suffer, it's the ones that have to live without them. So like, it's just a really heavy guilt that I will probably always have. And it's hard because it's not like it was my fault, but knowing that the people I loved had to like face that type of pain when I already feel like I caused the ones I love so much pain over the years, for how many scares and how many surgeries and how much I've been through, to know that I got to the point of Lily dying and coming back, thankfully. It's like the worst pain that I have always feared that I would give them, the losing me, happened. And I had to come back, which I'm so grateful I did, but then come back to see the pain. It's not like I went, bye-bye. They had to live with that. I came back and I saw it face to face, and then it's like facing my greatest fear of like, fuck, I did die, goddamn. I know that it affected people, obviously, and I've heard, some stories about how everything went down and people's reactions, and like, most people that were there won't exactly talk to me about it, like, won't be like, yeah, no, absolutely devastated, because they don't want me to feel bad. But then I know they're not talking about it, so then I feel even more worse because they can't even open up about the experience. But it would make me feel worse. But then it's like, oh my god. So it's like, it's fucking endless, because everybody's just trying to help somebody, which then just adds to the guilt for everybody. So that was that, and then that still is something I carry, and it's still something that like I struggle with, like when I don't suppress the memory. Growing up as a sick kid, and like in wheelchairs and shit, You know, if there's a holiday, then you have to plan around that. And like, if there's wheelchair access and you can't go to parties, or if there's a birthday party and you just have to sit there. You have to sit there. And like, you feel like shit, but then the other people feel bad for the little kid in a wheelchair at a fucking fun place not being able to play, so then everyone just feels like shit again for your existence. And those situations like that, and you like, you know, if you have friends or something and you can't go, and people are like, oh, well, if you can't go, I won't go. And I'm like, no, and then you feel bad, or you know, you're having an outing and you have to leave early or cancel or whatever, and then that person feels like shit and they can't help you, and then you just feel bad. It's painful, but if you have people that care about you, then it hurts them too. And it's nobody's fault, and there's nothing any of us can do about it. And like, I remember growing up, I used to get so angry at everything because I had problems back then. I used to hate being told I was like strong and shit. Like, don't cry, you got this. And like, at first it was like, thanks. After a while, I got real fucking old. And then I also just like felt bad that they had to be saying this shit to me. But when I really take a step back, especially nowadays, and I actually look at it, literally nothing they did could have prevented the way that I feel. Because if I was in that situation and they were really supportive and like, you got this, you're strong, I could take it and be like, fuck, I have to be strong, and then put myself on a pedestal. But if they didn't care at all and were like, you'd be fine, and I'm like, then I feel like no one was there for me, no one supported me, and that all this shit, and then it would just go to the next situation. So there was nothing that they could have done. And if they did show me their pain, then I would have felt like I couldn't show my pain because I was taking care of them. If they didn't show my pain, then I felt guilty because I knew they couldn't, and then felt like it was fake. Literally, nothing anyone did was the correct version, because that's not how that works. Every person is an individual person that responds to each thing differently. And there are some things that I took wonderfully that someone else might have hated. So for a while, I used to get really pissed at myself for feeling the way I did and having the guilt. And I know that when I have told people that I really struggled with how much like, you're fine, you got this, support I got, they felt bad and they were like, well, fuck, I should have done this or I should have done this. And that's what I was like, no, I mean, it's all shitty, but literally there's nothing that anyone could have done. So, long story short, it's nobody's fault. The guilt, the shitty situations, the help, the people that you love loving you, it's just part of it. And it's shitty for everybody, and you're always gonna have some type of reaction that isn't correct in your own personal experience, and all that matters is how you process it. Because like, I used to tell myself that I now was a piece of shit for thinking that I was a piece of shit, because then the person trying to help me feels even more guilty if they found out that I feel bad for them. You get what I'm saying? And for me, the best thing I could do is just forgive myself. And like, saying that definitely is like, people will take that differently. Like, everyone views forgiveness in different contexts. And I mainly just have it of like, acceptance is how I view like forgiveness type of thing. So like, accepting that I was trying my best, and that also just knowing that none of it was out of malice or you know, ill intent. You know, even if it felt scary or felt harsh or felt lonely, all these things were happening for me because somebody cared, because I cared about that person. And if I can step away from my initial emotions and triggers and realize that, yeah, it felt shitty, it does feel shitty, but the essence of it is genuine and love, then it makes one easier to process, one easier to let go of, but also just it gives me a new perspective on the situation and more gratitude. And like, I do still struggle with it. I have so much guilt, and I feel guilty for existing, and I feel guilty for caring about people and letting people care about me. Obviously, I can control their emotions, but like, trust me, I used to try. Okay, I close everyone off. So letting people in my life, I feel bad, and money and all that. But I have to also just think, what would I do for them? I think that was the biggest thing that helped me let go of so much of the guilt. If roles were reversed, if somebody I loved had any of this shit happen, if they were in pain, if they felt sick, if they needed, financial help, I wouldn't even think twice. And I would, every essence of me would help them, would care about them. I don't give a fuck about myself. And I would never, ever, ever want that person to feel bad about it, or feel like a burden or guilty or anything, because I'm doing it because I love this person. So once I actually flipped it around on myself, I'm like, okay, why can't I have that? Why can't someone just want to help me and be there for me because they love me? And it took a long time for me to accept that something like that could be it, just because I felt like I didn't deserve it, because I felt like I caused so much pain in my life. I didn't feel like I deserved the type of care. That's again just my own mental funness. But no, so now I've definitely more adapted and let go of a lot of the guilt and anger towards myself. Especially just, so I couldn't control any of it. Like, what the fuck was I supposed to do? What the fuck else was they supposed to do? It's shitty. But yeah, so I don't really know if there's like an end goal to this conversation, but I just want to talk about it because it does go every which way. Like, there are people that, like, parents that can't play with their kids because they're too ill or in too much pain and they have guilt, or can't make it to birthdays or graduations, or go out with friends, or teens that can't hang out with each other or have to cancel plans because they are back in the hospital on IV, or kids that like feel like they are hurting their parents from being sick, or vice versa, or just causing harm. And I think the guilt of existing comes in more than just medical health. It's something that I think almost everyone I know has, but people never talk about it. And like, once in a while, but like, it's something I definitely don't hear talked about, and it's something in the medical field is what I experience the most. And if you, for any goddamn reason, have medical guilt, and or because you're in pain, or feel like you are scary to care about, if you don't have long, or even just your life that you do have is scary as fuck, it is not your fault, and it is not a fucking burden, and you are not a fucking burden, and the people that care about you would not fucking blink an eye. Literally, if they only had 10 days with you left, or had to go through one of the scariest surgeries by your side, the right people, the real people you need around you, will be there, no questions asked, and not even a second thought. And that took a long time for me to accept, again, because of my own problems. But if anyone ever makes you feel like you are a piece of shit for literally being fucking ill, niet. But yeah, no, that's a wonderful brain of ours. I don't know how the fuck I'm supposed to end this shit. I just want to specify, I do really appreciate and love all the support I do get, and I no longer view like you're strong, you're amazing as a bad thing. Like, now I'm just like, yeah, fuck yeah, I am. Thank you. Because I believe it now. Before I was like, people might be lying, but no, I believe it. No, I'm just very grateful for the good and bad, because it just meant that I was loved and I have loved. But yeah, thank you for listening and watching. Bye!